Hi there, boys and girls, and welcome back to Conquering Math, where it all adds up. Today we'll be learning how to divide using decimals. Let's dive on in. By the end of today's lesson, you will be able to divide by multi-digit decimals using the standard algorithm. The Common Core State Standard today is 6NSB3. We need to start by talking about the algorithm. The first thing that we need to do is set up a long division problem the same as we would with whole numbers. So in this case, we'll look at 1.25 divided by 2.5. Next, we slide the decimal point in the divisor to the right until it is a whole number. In this case, that means we need to slide it one spot to the right. Then we'll slide the decimal point in the dividend to the right the same number of spaces as in step 2. So once again, we slide the decimal point one spot to the right. Two tips. First is to fill in any missing digits with zeros, which we don't need to do in this case. And the next one is that it often helps to rewrite the problem after this step, so you'll see that I've done that below. Now we're looking at 12.5 divided by 25. Next, we carry the decimal point up to the quotient, as you'll see on the right, and then we're ready to divide as usual. So we take a look. 25 does not go into 1, and it also doesn't go into 12. So I'll put in a 0 placeholder for the whole numbers. Now we take a look at the remaining digits. You'll notice that I write the decimal point as a placeholder, but at this point I just look at each digit as a whole number. So 25 goes into 125 5 times. 125 minus 125 is 0. So that's our answer, 0.5. For example number 1, we'll need to evaluate 30 divided by 1.2. We'll start by setting up our long division problem, and then we'll slide the decimal point in the divisor to the right until we have a whole number, which means we once again slide it by one spot. We need to do the same in the dividend. Notice that there's a missing digit, so when we rewrite, we'll fill it in with a 0. You'll also notice that I did write the decimal point at the end of the whole number, so that I can do step 4 and carry the decimal point up to the quotient. Now we'll divide as usual. 12 doesn't go into 3, but it does go into 30 2 times. 2 times 12 is 24, and 30 minus 24 is 6. Now we bring down the 0, and we have 60. 12 goes into 60 5 times, and 60 minus 60 is 0. So now we know that 30 divided by 1.2 equals 25. For example number 2, we will need to evaluate 24.8 divided by 8. The first step is to set up the long division problem, and then we slide the decimal point in the divisor to the right until it is a whole number. But the divisor is already a whole number, so we can skip this step, as well as step number 3. Now we'll carry the decimal point up to the quotient, and then we'll divide as usual. 8 doesn't go into 2, but it does go into 24 3 times. 24 minus 24 is 0, and now we'll carry down the 8, and 8 goes into 8 one time. So 24.8 divided by 8 equals 3.1. For example number 3, we will need to evaluate 0.54 divided by 4.5. We'll start by setting up the long division, and we'll slide the decimal point one spot to the right in the divisor, which means we need to slide it one spot to the right in the dividend. Then we'll rewrite and carry up the decimal point, and now we can divide as usual. 45 does not go into 5, so we'll put a 0 placeholder for the whole numbers. 45 does go into 54 one time. 54 minus 45 is 9. And notice that we need another digit, so we can fill in a placeholder 0, and we'll bring that down. And now we have 90. 45 goes into 90 2 times, and the remainder is 0. So the answer is 0.54 divided by 4.5 equals 0.12. As usual, we'll end with a real-world example. Alyssa spent $5.60 on colorful erasers at the school store. If each eraser cost 20 cents, how many erasers did Alyssa buy? We'll start by setting up our long division problem. 5.60 divided by 0.20. Now we slide the decimal point 2 spaces to the right in the divisor, which means we need to slide it 2 spaces to the right in the dividend. We'll rewrite it, so now we have 560 divided by 20. We'll carry the decimal point up, and then we'll divide as normal. 20 does not go into 5, but it does go into 56, 2 times. 2 times 20 is 40, so we have 56 minus 40, which is 16. Now we need to bring down the 0, and 20 goes into 160 8 times. 160 minus 160 is 0, so we're done. And we know that Alyssa bought 28 colorful erasers at the school store. Today you learned how to divide by multi-digit decimals using the standard algorithm. The Common Core state standard today was 6 NSB3.